So I just wanted to start with, we're getting ready for the 3 weeks. Shiva, Asar, Betmamuz is tomorrow. And I just wanted to get started with the Shulchan Aruch and the Mishna Berura on this, because he really gives context to what is fasting all about? Why are we fasting? What is fast? Where is the fast supposed to take us to? Where is this period supposed to take us to? And what is the essence of fasting? And I think it's very important, because a lot of people, and as we'll see, Mishna Berura points out, a lot of people get caught up in the fasting, even though that is important. But there's what the fast is supposed to be bringing us to. So let's just start with the Shulchan Aruch right over here. Hold on, is this it? Yeah. So the Shulchan Aruch says, this is Simin Tov Kuf Mem Tes. I didn't write it here. Sif Aleph. So the Shulchan Aruch says, Chayavim lisanos b'Tisha B'Av, b'Shiva Asar Betmamuz, u'b'Gimel b'Tishrei, u'b'Asar b'Teves. One is obligated to fast on Tisha B'Av, the 17th of Tammuz, and the 3rd of Tishrei, and the 10th of Teves, mipnei devarim haram she'iru bahem, because of the negative things that happened on those days, which we'll get into. So on that, this next sif just talks about Shiva Asar Betmamuz in the first temple. We'll see that one of the reasons why we fast, the Mishnah says on Shiva Asar Betmamuz, because that's when they breached the city. That's when they came in. And in the first temple, it was on the 9th day, but by the second temple was on the 17th. And that's why we focus on the 17th, because we're right now, the 17th, we're still mourning the second temple, and that was much more intense than the first temple. But I really wanted to focus on this Mishna Berura, he's quoting the Rambam on what is the point of the fast? Where is the fast supposed to be taking us? So let's get in. So the Mishna Berura says, Chayavim lisanos, we are obligated to fast. And by the way, I just want to point out, the next sif in Shulchan Aruch says that, because the Gemara speaks about that this verse, which he's going to bring, because it is a pasuk. Let's just, you know what? I'm going to continue. So the Mishna Berura says, Chayavim lisanos, one is obligated to fast. But who medivrei anavim? This comes from a verse in the Torah. This is from Tanakh. This is from the words of the prophets. Kidduchsiv Bikra, like it says in the verse. Tzom haravi v'tzom hachamishi v'tzom hashvi v'tzom ha'asiri. The verse in Zechariah says that there's the fast of the 4th, the fast of the 5th, the fast of the 7th, the fast of the 10th. V'amar Chazal, and the Chazal say, our rabbis of blessed memory say, Tzom haravi, the 4th fast, what does that mean? Zeh Yud Zayin B'Tammuz. This is referring to the 17th of Tammuz, Shehu b'Chodesh Ravi, because that's in the 4th month. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make this big. So, make it easier to see. Let's see if we can do that. Hold on. Format. Boom. Document. Actually, what is going on? Oh, style right here. Let's bump this up. Boom. Boom, baby, boom. Okay. So here we go. Chazal say that the 4th, Tzom haravi, the 4th fast is referring to Yud Zayin B'Tammuz. It's referring to the 17th of Tammuz, Shehu b'Chodesh Revi, which is in the 4th month. The Minyan HaChadoshim, with regards to, it's the 4th month with regards to the count of the months. Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz is the 4th month. The Tzom HaChamishi, and the 5th fast is Tisha B'Av, Shu b'Chodesh HaChamishi, because it's in the 5th month. And the Tzom HaShvi, the 7th, is that Tzom Gedaya, Shu b'Chodesh HaShvi. That's referring to Tzom Gedaya because that's in the 7th month. The Tzom HaAsiri and the 10th fast the fast of the 10th is referring to Asar b'Teves Shu b'Chodesh HaAsiri. That's referring to the 10th month. So that there's a verse in Zechariah which says that we have to fast these days. Happens to be, the Gemara says that this verse is only referring to when there's gezeros upon us, when there's decrees upon us. Right now there isn't. We're able to practice freely. And the Gemara says that in those times when you're able to practice freely, it depends on whether Klal Yisrael accepts these fasts upon themselves. And now Shulchan Aruch says that nowadays Klal Yisrael has already, or I'm sure he's quoting from earlier, but we've accepted these fasts for generations, and now it's sort of like a neder. It's sort of like it's a minhag and it's a neder, and he says don't be porei together, don't breach the fence. So fine, that's a side note. So now let's continue. He says, V'chol elu hayamim, all of these days, kol Yisrael mis'ana bahem, all the Jews fast on them, mipnei hatzoros, she'eru bahem, kedei la'orer halavavos l'fakeach al derkei teshuva. Now this is very important. All of these days, we fast because of the negative things that happen to us. Why? And this is very important. Kedei la'orer halavavos l'fakeach al derkei teshuva. He's quoting the Rambam. In order to awaken our hearts, to open up for tshuva. The fast is supposed to be bringing us to a place of introspection, where we distance ourselves from food. It's a time to think deeply, and that's what he says, V'yeh zeh zikaron l'ma'asenu, haram u'ma'aseh avosenu, and it should be a remembrance for the negative things that we have done. As the Gemara says, if the Beis HaMikdash is not built in your time, it's as if you have destroyed it. That means that if the Beis HaMikdash is not here and we're still fasting, and therefore we are responsible for not having the Beis HaMikdash rebuilt, whatever the negative actions that were, which was sinas chinam, baseless hatred, where people, their interactions with others were negative, and therefore it was a bein adam l'chavero issue. The problem was between man and his friend. That was the issue. And therefore, if the Beis HaMikdash is not rebuilt, now we are still stuck in the issues, and we're still stuck in the ways of our forefathers. Shaya k'ma'asenu ata, which is like our actions now, ad shagam lahem v'lanu osan atzaro shebezikaron hadvarim, that we remember these negative things that happen because we realize that all these negative things that happened to us then and haven't been fixed now are all due to our actions. It's all due to, and specifically with the second Beis HaMikdash, with regards to sinas chinam, it has to do with the way we relate to our friends, to others, to our family, to our loved ones. And therefore, and therefore, through remembering these things that happen to us, it should awaken us. It should awaken us to return to Hashem. The purpose of fasting. Hold on, let's continue. Kamoshenemar, like it says in the verse, "V'esvadu es avonam es avon avosam," that they repented over their sins and over the sins of their fathers. And in this context, he's using that to show that everything that's happening, any negative thing, and especially these past few months that we've been going through, have to be a wake-up call for each one of us to look deeper, to look inside. What can we do? What have we been doing which needs tikkun? And specifically, that's the point of fasting. And therefore, look what he says, chayiv kol ish, everyone is obligated, lasum el libo, to pay attention, to focus himself, ba'osan hayamim, in these days, tomorrow, The fashvesh b'maisav. It should be a day of introspection. It should be a day of scrutinizing one's actions. V'loshel b'hem, and to do teshuva, to see where can I improve, what's really holding me back from caring and being there for others, what's holding me back from really being there for being the best person I can be. And listen to these words. He says, Ki ein ha'ikar hatanis, because the essence and the main thing is not the fasting. The fasting is not the main thing. That's not the essence of the day. Tomorrow, even though we say it's the fast day and that's what we do, but that's not the essence. The essence of fasting, like it says by the men of Nineveh, that Hashem saw their actions. Chazal say, it doesn't say that Hashem saw their sackcloth and their fasting. Rather, Hashem saw their actions. Hashem saw them doing teshuva. Hashem saw them shifting the way they were. And this whole period, which is that we're about to enter, this mourning process is not just for the sake of mourning. It's for the sake of bringing us to a place of introspection, of looking deeper into ourselves. How could we improve? What are we doing that's contributing to not having the Beis Hamikdash around, which the Beis Hamikdash represents the place which, and there were Nisim Galuyim, there were revealed miracles in those times. It was the place where it was revealed, Hashem's presence was revealed in the world. And right now we're lacking that. So what are we contributing to having Hashem's presence, so to speak, removed from this world? I'm sorry. And the fasting is only a preparation for teshuva. The fasting is only there to bring us to a place of teshuva. That's the whole purpose. Therefore, listen what he says. Therefore, those people that fast, that they sleep the whole day during fasting, or they just try to get it over with. By the way, that's a big madrega. But still, he says that they're grabbing on to the tofel, the residue, the non-essence, and they're leaving the essence of the day. The whole purpose of tomorrow and Tisha B'Av and all of these fast days and this whole period is there to bring us to a place of teshuva, to bring us to a place of real deep introspection in our lives, to see where we can improve. What are we doing that needs tikkun? What are we doing that needs work? And he says, of course, of course, you shouldn't exempt yourself from just teshuva by itself. Meaning there is the fasting also, but that's not the main thing. Because these words, the fasting is a mitzvah aseh from the words of the prophets, lisanus b'hem, like we wrote above. So just to recap again, the essence of tomorrow is there for introspection, to bring us to a place of teshuva. When we remember all the negative things that happened, which I want to go through the Mishnah where we'll see actually what happened on Shiva Asar Betmamuz. It's there for introspection. It's there to bring us to a place of, if there hasn't been a tikkun, if we're not living with the Beis Hamikdash, that means that we're contributing to the issue. And therefore, we need to look deeper and to see where we can improve. Anyone want to pop in? Any thoughts so far?
Seems to be that the idea is not about, the physical and of not fasting, but more just that, on how to, it's like taking a pause in life and kind of looking at yourself to make yourself better and how you can do better. And the idea of fasting does what? It brings you to a discomfort of your physicality. So therefore you're able to understand that, maybe, I mean, this is my, because we didn't really talk about the connection really between the
Right.
fasting and the introspection of the day or the days of all the fasts. So from my understanding, the connection of it would be, like that you're fasting and you're taking away your physicality for the day. So you're understanding that, like, this isn't about me. It's Hashem runs the world and I need to work on certain things. And that's how I see it. But and it sounds like, if you're just fasting and you're sleeping the day away, you're not getting to the point of the fast day, but it's called the fast day so that, like, you're not supposed to be eating or drinking. So really the idea of what the Shulchan Aruch is saying is that you're not, the idea of the Shulchan Aruch is really just saying that it's a day of kind of to pause, So am I correct on the understanding of the connection from the fasting to the pause of introspection day?
So say that again, meaning what was the connection you're making?
My connection is just saying that you're kind of taking out your physicality and you're making yourself uncomfortable in what you normally do physically. And physically you eat. Obviously we say brachas and whatnot, but physically the physicality of eating makes you feel normal. So you're taking that out and you're making yourself uncomfortable because it's a day that you need to think deeper. That's my understanding.
Right. I 100%. I just want to add possibly that what could also be is that, meaning sometimes we're so, especially in nowadays, in our generation, like we're so stuck in distracting ourselves instead of letting ourselves actually feel the pain, letting ourselves actually experience that, wait, things are not the way they should be. And could be like in those days, food was a big thing. I guess it was a distraction, and it still is. And of course, I think you're right. By the way, that it's definitely, to make ourselves. What did you say? To make yourselves uncomfortable and like to remove. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like making yourself uncomfortable. You're removing. I mean, in general, we're supposed to be saying brachos, so food and eating is not necessarily all physical, but the idea of lacking food and drink brings you to an uncomfortable state, and you're not normal state, and therefore you something's off, and therefore you have to kind of be like, okay, so I'm not eating and drinking, so let me think about why I'm not eating and drinking, and then I kind of get to, it's like a kickstart in a way in my head.
Right. Meaning you're saying it's different and it's uncomfortable. So like, why am I doing this? So it must be that there's something deeper. I agree 100%. I'm just adding that it's also, I mean, I know for myself personally, like it's very easy. I'm not saying it's easy. Like nowadays, just teshuva is hard in general. And especially like we're very sensitive. Our bodies are very sensitive. So fasting affects me. And like sometimes you can't really focus, and that's okay. It's part of the process. But
focus, maybe you get cranky. There's a lot of side effects of not eating and drinking.
But I think a major part is to help, like, to take away those pleasures that we use as an escape from the pain of this world and the pain of being in a reality where Hashem is not revealed. And that's why there's so much din in the world, is only because Hashem is not revealed. That's what we've been doing in Das, and that's what we've been doing. I mean, the idea when Hashem is revealed and it's clear and you're living with that reality, it's all good. It is all good, and you're not experiencing pain. You're not experiencing pain. But what was I saying? Blew it. Bing. Bing. Just went off.
You're talking about that just kind of
that's what happens. Things just pop up on your computer, just like notifications.
Distraction.
Distraction. It's like, what is that? So it's about. No, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like how the computer and like the just notifications and different things like just distract you from moving in life. But yes, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about distraction. So I guess food in those days was a distraction, and it was taking you away from letting yourself really experience that pain of what the reality that we're living in, and all the craziness, especially nowadays, that like sometimes we could just like zone out and like, you do whatever you do to escape. But Hashem is saying, wake up, and that's what we're supposed to be. That's the message we're supposed to be getting out of it.
Not a normal day. Wake up. It's not a normal day.
Exactly.
You're doing things differently. I mean, it's very fascinating because I mean, to a certain point, besides for maybe, like more teshuva and Yom Kippur, or like the other ones were more just kind of like, okay, like let's get through the day in a way, like that's the, so it's nice to kind of have them all. You're kind of like the Shulchan Aruch is bundling them all together and being like, it's not really about lack of eating. It's really about just taking a step back and, just understanding, to introspection, just see what's going on, see what you could work on, see, how you make yourself better, how to do teshuva and everything. It's fascinating that Hashem requires you not to eat or drink for that, and
Right.
The connection to me that was my connection. So
100%.
And I like
Yeah. We're both figuring it out together.
Same thing.
Gary, I saw you that you wanted to say something also.
Well, it's a little more controversial what I'm thinking.
We can't hear you so well. Maybe come closer. I don't know. The microphone's not so good.
Different phone. Is that better?
It's a little better.
A little better.
Okay. Now it's a little controversial what I'm thinking, but I'm thinking, how much teshuva can you do in a year? I mean, here we're going to have one tomorrow. Then there's teshuva, which is really not a teshuva day, but it is and it isn't. And then we have the Yom and and then we have Yom Kippur. And so what are you supposed to, I mean, I'm thinking, how much teshuva can you do? And then you do it again the next year and whatever. So what are you trying to accomplish with this teshuva cycle? I don't know if you can answer it. Maybe Rabbi Nachman can answer it or somebody, but it's like, it seems like it's an endless teshuva thing. Is that bad that you constantly have to go through these things? Although these fasts, I look at more as a history, historical fast, because I mean the Luchos was destroyed on tomorrow. The wall was broken, and there's some other things. There's like 5 or 4 things that happened on the same day. So I don't know if you can answer it, but it's just going through my mind is how much do we do? And because in 3 weeks you're going to be doing another one, and then in 7 weeks you're going to be not 7, about 8, 9, you're going to be doing another one, and then you have some Gedalia in between. So it's like, how much do you do?
I just want to say that, meaning a lot of people, teshuva, by the way, like the way Reb Nachman, it's an infinite process, really. And at least teshuva, I think for myself, when I hear teshuva, meaning of course there's the details, which one needs to focus on. Like I didn't have kavanah when I said a bracha and whatever, I said this word. But I think when really engaging in the process of teshuva, it's really looking deeper and those core character traits, which are really the root, which are causing you to not be the best person.
I look at it from a national perspective. The minor fast day, because there was a reason why the temple was destroyed. There was a reason why the Luchos was destroyed. There's reasons for all these things, these historical fasts. I call them historical fasts, minor fasts, whatever you want to call them. So that's what I'm thinking here. But anyway.
No, for sure. There is the historical aspect for sure. But we're mourning and we're still in that mourning process because.
I mean, let's go through 3 weeks of mourning. It's gradual mourning. It's a reversal of mourning, like for an individual.
But I just want to point out that the mourning is different than, I guess, losing a loved one in this situation, even though it's also like that. Because over here, we are the cause for the mourning. That's how we're supposed to do it. That it's not just, meaning it's our issue. it's our issue. If there's no Beis Hamikdash right now, if we're not living in a time where Hashem's revealed in the whole world, it's our issue and it's our actions right now that are causing it. And therefore, this is something that we have to look deeper. It's not just, it's a mourning that should be obviously part of change. And we even have that with teshuva. The teshuva process itself is charata, is regret, is to actually experience the pain of living in a reality where Hashem isn't revealed. And we have to experience that pain to know what we're missing. And that's part of the mourning, but that should be bringing us to a deeper place of, okay, fine. So now I'm experiencing this. Now I got to change. Now I got to shift. That should be the energy from that pain and from that mourning should be used and channeled into changing one's life. And I just, with regards to teshuva is a never, we say Salach Lanu 3 times a day, and all of the Musar Sfarim for sure, and Reb Nachman talks about having that time in your day to really, the Mesilas Yesharim also talks about that, with really having time in your day which is isolated for introspection and for really looking deep. What do I need to do to shift? And it's really when we're dealing with our core midos, when we're dealing with the things that either we were born with or we've learned in our younger years, and those negative traits which are preventing us from really actualizing our potential. The avoda is we chip away at it slowly, and it's not going to happen overnight. You can't change core midos overnight. It doesn't happen. And of course we could do teshuva for kavanah and for doing the mitzvahs, but the core, the ego, and the core things which are really holding us back, it's a process and it doesn't happen overnight. And therefore, meaning even when we say on Yom Kippur, and we come out clean, I think, and this is what my Rebbe, Rabbi Berkowitz, he would say that, meaning you need to have a plan. You need to have a plan of how I'm going to work on myself, meaning, and that's through small things. And that's not we're not talking about big things. We're talking about isolating one midah or one root thing, which is holding you back, and start slowly on working on that and growing. And it's a process.
It's like a 12-step program, I guess.
For sure. That's big teshuva. 12 steps are big teshuva. For sure.
That's what I was thinking.
So I want to continue. And right now I just wanted to focus on one of the things that happened, because I read a nice article from Nation. I just wanted to share it because I thought it was really nice. But let's just see the 5 things that happened on Shavuos Betmamuz, and then I'll go off on one idea. So right over here, this is a Mishnah in Tainus, which says, Chamisha Dvarim Eru as Avosinu b'Shiva Asar Betmamuz. There were 5 things that happened to our fathers on the 17th of Tammuz, v'chamisha b'Tisha B'Av, and there were 5 things that happened on Tisha B'Av. B'Shiva Asar Betmamuz nishtabru aluchos. On the 17th of Tammuz, the luchos were broken. Ubotul atomid, and the korban tamid, which was brought twice a day, stopped because of the siege. Hufka Eir, and the walls of the city were breached. The Sarfa Apostopos es HaTorah, Apostopos burnt the Torah, which was a horrible thing. Vehemid Tselem Behechol, and they hung up an idol inside the temple courtyard. Not courtyard, but inside the temple. But Tisha B'Av, on Tisha B'Av, Nigzar al Vasim Shaloi Konsul Aretz. On Tisha B'Av, it was decreed upon our forefathers not to enter into Eretz Yisrael. That was the Meraglim. B'Charv Habayis Barishonu B'Shniya. The first Beis Hamikdash and the second Beis Hamikdash were both destroyed. The Nilkada Beitar they were captured. The Nechra Sha'ir, and the city was plowed up. Okay, and then the Mishnah ends off when Av comes in, we should minimize our simcha. I just wanted to focus on one idea which I was reading. Oh wow, this is right here. One idea, which Did someone say something? Okay.
No, I got it on the mute.
So the Gemara says, you know what, let me just put, I'll pull that up for a second. Hold on. Okay. Right here. The Gemara in Bava Basra says, and I think this is just an important lesson and we could talk about Rabbi Meir, Shivrei Luchos Demunachim Ba'orim Minole. How do we know? Meaning, we know that the Luchos were destroyed, but what happened to them? Where did they go? Because usually what happens when something is holy, it's called Geniza, you bury it in the ground. But there's a fascinating thing with the Luchos, the broken Luchos, that they were placed inside the Aron. So Gemara says, how do we know that? And he says the verse. So Malamed Shaluchos v'Shivrei Luchos Munachim Ba'oron. What we learn out from this verse, that the Luchos, which were intact, the second tablets and the first tablets, which were broken, were placed in the same, were both in the Aron. And I think there's two and by the way, we see the idea of combining happiness and sadness together, meaning we have, first of all, we have on Pesach, we break the matzah. We have by weddings that by the wedding itself, we break the glass, which represents the fact that even though we're so besimcha right now, we're incomplete. But I think it's a very powerful idea, the fact that both luchos were in the ark, we're both in the Aron. First of all, because I think as a Jew, and Rabbi Berkowitz always used to say this, I mean, he still does, but just I was in when he was called, he would say that a Jew has to live with different emotions at the same time. We have to be able to live with feeling a wholeness, feeling sameach bechelko, feeling that our lots, that everything is great and we're content with what we have, and at the same time feel the lack and see how much we have to grow and experience that. And as Reb Nachman says, we should designate, there's 23 hours of the day we have to be besimcha, but then there's that 1 hour of the day where you need to have a leiv nishbar, a broken heart, and that both of these realities are happening at the same time. And I think a lot of the time, I think first of all, both of these things are very important ideas. The idea of being mesamech b'chelko, the idea of having to be content and know that everything's from Hashem and gamzlu tov and it's all good. And then at the same time to really take responsibility and to let ourselves experience pain, to let ourselves experience the lack that's in our life. I think that's a very important idea, which I think both of those we struggle with these days. I think a lot of times we're escaping where we don't let ourselves feel the pain, and also we're not sameach b'chelko. And I think part of this idea, the luchos were broken tomorrow, and the fact that we still carry them around shows that, meaning we have to be open. There's a part of the reality which are both in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, which the Reishis Chachma says represents our heart. That the ark, the Aron represents our heart. And within our heart, we have to have both of these realities going on at the same time. We have to have the reality that the wholeness, the completeness, that we're in the process and everything is good. But on the flip side, we have to be able to really experience that lack, experience that pain, experience the fact that there's so much more for us to work on. And I think that's just an important idea from the Shivrei Luchos. And I think also just another idea that our mistakes, the reason why they were carried, this is a little, Rav Kook talks about this idea, and the Gemara really talks about this idea that when one does tshuva me'ahava, when one does complete tshuva or tshuva from love, the Gemara says that the zdonos, that his sins are nasim zechuyos, they flip into merits. And Rav Kook understands that idea that when you do complete tshuva, when you do tshuva me'ahava, and you're on the other side, you realize how every single thing that happened in your life was necessary and needed. For example, just on a basic level, meaning we know that emotionally, we know that if we go through certain struggles, now we have the ability to then help people. And it's not that we want to take away our past and everything like that, meaning there is the time for tshuva. But the fact that we carry around the shivrei luchos with us is an important idea, as we're going to see in the end of times, how every single thing needed to be, and it was all part of the grand master plan. But for right now, where we're in middle of that process, we need to be open to let ourselves really experience that pain. I don't know, I just thought those were two nice ideas. But just to summarize what we were discussing before, tomorrow is a day for introspection. Tomorrow is a day to look deeper, and the fast, of course, we have to fast, but it's within the context of being a preparation for us to do tshuva. May we be zocha mamish. Does anyone have any points, anything they would like to say? Thanks so much, everyone, for coming on. I appreciate it. Wow. Have a wonderful day.
Likewise.
Love you guys.
Does the teshuva, going back to your other class, Shama, right?
What?
Does teshuva correct in the Shama? Remember in your class that we're talking about in the Shama, the other
the nefesh. I can't hear you so well. What do you say, Gary?
Okay. Does the teshuva correct in the Shama? On your other class that you're talking about correcting the Shama, or what you're talking about, does it relate to that?
Does what relate to what? Meaning, does the tshuva relate to being more, for sure, meaning this is the essence of tshuva. That's what Rav Nachman says is really fixed, is really nullifying our ego, as it's really becoming the rider of the horse. It's really controlling, meaning living your life from a place of das, living life completely from your higher self. That is where we're trying to strive, or that's at least the first process of tshuva, which for most people, it's a lifelong process. And yeah, for sure, that's really because the more we live from a place of das, the more we live from our higher self knows the difference between right or wrong. Our higher self wants to do right. And we just fall because we have an instinctual lower self, which has its temptations, has its needs, and lives off of impulse. So that's it.
Are you giving another class tomorrow night on the Pasha, or?
Possibly. I mean, we'll see how I feel after the fast, but
sure.
Possibly.
Okay. Well, have an easy and meaningful fast.
Amen, amen. You too, Gary. Take care, everyone. Wow, Yisachar, Reb Sachi, good to see you. Have an amazing day, everyone.
Love you, Psachia.
You too.